rescue, revamp, create. The art of drum synthesis. The new course is available at Letsynthesize Academy.
Yo, the Larsen here, welcome to the new Synthesize episode. Now my last glitch video was a huge hit, click here if you want to check it. But today I found out that maybe using the current synth would be a lot more fun to create this type of sounds. Now if you want to grab this preset and the pack that I'm going to show you in a bit, you can grab this from my Patreon below and click here for my academy if you want to learn a lot more about music production. But right now let's jump into it. Okay, so these are some glitches that I made with this technique. Okay, so I'm going to use one of my favorite synth, Current, for this stuff because it contains a really nice granular engine. First, let's add a MIDI node on C3 because this is the initial pitch of the synth. Okay, so first what I want to do is create a stuttering effect, but it could be a little hard to do it inside the synth. So what I'll have to do is drop an arpeggiator. And if you choose the milliseconds instead of the notes, so we can create this type of, I would say, little stuttering effect. But it's too even at the moment. I don't want that. So let's drop an LFO and map it to the rate. Now it plays on a too big range, so let's pull back the depth. Yeah, I think this sounds good. And if you want to go totally random, let's choose the random. But to be honest, I'm totally fine with the sign. Okay, we set up the MIDI, but right now let's go to the granular and of course deactivate the main wavetable. We only need the granular engine. So let's drop inside here something. I use one sound for my liquid fills that you can check here how I made this, and if you want to grab them, you can find information there too. So right now this is what we got. Well, it actually already sounds cool, but let's use a curve and modulate the position. Now I didn't change too much because we forgot to set the LFO or the curve behavior to 3. And what I love in Current that it has presets for everything basically. So let's go and find some sequences, for example, and choose the blade sequence. But I just want to have, like previously, some hertz instead of the note on the rate of the LFO. So right now we are triggering random notes that has different position inside the sound. There's a lot more thing you can do here, but honestly we are done. The only thing I would add is a high pass filter here. But basically the goal here is we are going to use lots of like effects, compression, filtering, distortion, whatever. And if we have too much low end in the sound, we can easily mess up the whole thing. So you will see, but later you can always, just disable it if you want. Okay, let's go to the effects. And the first thing that I want to add is this awesome wave shifter. It's basically just a frequency shifter or a ring modulator. You can choose here or an amplitude modulation, but the frequency shifter is more than enough here. So let's choose another curve. Again, let's go with the free and disable the synchronization mode. And choose a preset, for example the sharp, and just drop it on a frequency, but you don't want to use a too wide range. Okay, so the purpose here is to totally mess up the low end of the sound. So if you use, for example, a bass loop, it is heavily recommended to use a wave shifter because you don't want to have like a tonal low end for the sound. You really want to have a mess, but not an over distorted, a noisy mess, but somehow, just an interesting mess. And the frequency shifter is an awesome tool to do that, to push the low end of the sound into unheard dimensions. Okay, next I want to use a fuse compressor, and this is again an awesome compressor. It has some very cool presets, and as I said, this is what I love in Current, that you don't need to program everything from scratch because it always has some presets that you can choose from. Let's choose, for example, the chest pump. But let's sum makeup and click on the soft clipper mode. So if you remember how I made those glitches like several years ago, you might remember that I used a band reject filter inside Serum. Now in Current, in the hybrid filter, that is called, in the Formants tab, the Vari notch. This is exactly the same thing, and just drop it on the cutoff. Crank up the morph. So with this we are opening the width to really huge. And this is what really messes up the sound in a good way. We are done here, but let's add a slight distortion now. The polar distortion again is an awesome tool for that. Let's go to the presets from the subtle warm and let's choose the edge subtle. It adds some nice harmonics on the low end, especially on the low end of the sound. And because the resonance is really high on this filter, we can easily create some huge low end that we can distort with the polar distortion. Okay, after the distortion, we need another compression. Let's go to the OTTs and let's choose, for example, lift fuse. Now, these are just, experimentation. I try to find a preset that sounds great on this kind of stuff. And I found that the lift fuse is what I need here. Okay, so the problem, like I just said previously, is we have too much low end, so the distortion distorts the low end of the sound a little too much. So let's use more EQ and put it right after the wave shifter and, just pull back the low end a little. So we still have some awesome low end on the sound, but it's not heavily distorted. Okay, and maybe add another classic, this time a classic OTT to the sound. Right, so we went from this into this. Really interesting filtering and stuff. Now you can go back to the engine and if you want, you can add some feedback. If you want, because it will probably create some more noise on the sound, you can just use, for example, Curve 5 and automate it. But honestly, I don't really find it essential. And of course, you can choose oscillator A, pull back the level, so you don't want to have the saw wave routed out to the sound, only just use it as a modulator. Okay, this is interesting. Let's use this one. And the cool part here is you can always choose a different wavetable. And all you need to do is just choose the resampling mode and just find your favorite spot. Or you can go back and just choose a really different sound, for example, some house basses. Plus, if you really want to go crazy, just use, for example, Curve 5 or Curve 4, it doesn't really matter. I think Curve 5 will be better, and drop it on the pitch, but you don't want to go too crazy with the pitch. What is really important here is the gate inside the Arpeggiator, because if you pull it back, your stuttering sound will be really short. Basically, only transients will be able to cut through, but if you crank this up, you will have longer notes or longer bits. Okay, so there are some very cool sounds here. For example, I love this one. This is cool too. This can be really good. Now you need to take care of these little transients. For example, if you saturate or if you use spiff, you can easily remove them. But right now I think this is cool, and the possibilities again are endless to create really nice glitches. Right, so grab this preset and the pack from my Patreon below and check my academy for awesome start to finish courses. See you guys next time, peace.